is going to be around career agility, and the title of the conversation is going to be career agility and inside out approach. The whole idea why I named it as an inside out approach, we all know everything in this world happens twice or thrice. First one as an idea, as a thought. The second one as an actually a plan or a blueprint, and the third one is actual realization of that. It could be an object, it could be a project, or it could be an actual manifestation of some physical entity. So the same is applicable for career. Why not look at from that angle? So keeping that in mind, I thought of calling it as inner changes creating an outer changes, or an inside out approach. A quick introduction. So my name is Manchunath MS Rao. I am part of Agilewaters Consulting team as a trainer, a coach, and a partner. My purpose is to work with individuals to, coach or help them to find the best in them, right? Find their purpose. Been in the industry for close to 20 years. Started as an engineer and then later did many career transitions. And I'm going to talk about my story, why I believe this career agility is a need of an hour for all of us. So that's a quick background. So I've been working closely with many of you in APJ community. Been working with many of you in some of the assignments. So good to always get connected. So a quick reflection. If we if you look what happened a few years ago in terms of pandemic, basically it changed the entire spectrum or dynamics of the world, isn't it? The world has changed, the family life has changed, the work life has changed. So the new normal is setting in. The new normal is also creating many opportunities, at the same time also throwing many challenges. So if you have to ask somebody what is your key lessons from that pandemic, of course I tried capturing some of the element what been given from the insurance company called Alliance, which they were talking about. Or there is a, you all must be knowing, there's a company called Yulu which is into a small mobility vehicles. So they started looking at the trend in the market and then said the people have started becoming more self-reliance. The importance of being together as a family, the happiness is more critical, health is more, mental wellness and physical wellness is being seen as a, more prominent compared to anything else. While this is happening, it's also bringing a lot of impact on our careers. What is that you have seen based on your experience? How this pandemic shaped up entire spectrum of your job or a career, or what do you see as a trend in your area of work? Any quick reflections? Any quick thoughts? Are you all with me?
Yes. So I would say that self-reliance, definitely. We realize that how it is important.
Absolutely. So how this has been impacting our careers, how it has been impacting on the job market? Any quick thoughts over there? Since we are talking about career agility, what has changed in terms of job profiles? What has changed in terms of way of working, in terms of goals and objectives? How are we seeing the job or a career as a part of our life? Any quick reflections or thoughts there? Because this will be a leading question or probably a conversations to start talking about what do we call career agility. Any quick reflections over there?
If I might make some comments.
Yes, sir.
My name is Sid.
Yes, Sid.
Yeah. So, first of all, what I would like to say is that again, that landscape is changing. So, what was as you said very correctly, in the COVID period, it was absolutely, completely 100% work from home. But nowadays, I'm talking 2023, slowly that is changing. And now it is expected that, okay, let me go back to 2022. So May 2022, once a month you have to come in office.
Yeah.
Fine. Once a fortnight you have to come in office.
Yeah.
And so on and so on. Today it is, at least twice a week or
A
thrice a
week you
week we
should be
expect
there.
you to be
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
office.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
that is one change.
Yeah.
The other change which I have noticed is
Mm-hmm.
that, again, I'm going back to 2022. If we say mid
Mm-hmm.
2022 and onwards,
Mm-hmm.
the compensation, whether that is wages or day rate or whatever you want to call it, that
Mm-hmm.
has
Mm-hmm.
fallen and fallen drastically.
Yeah.
Now
True.
that may be for various reasons. The economy of course, I live in the UK, so I'm talking from my
Mm-hmm.
perspective. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't know 100% what goes on in India,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
wages have fallen, and the reason
Yeah.
wages have fallen, the reason is because the employer is thinking, hang on, this guy is only going to come once or twice or maybe three times a
Obviously.
week in the office. Why should I pay him,
Obviously. Yeah.
X amount of money?
True.
Because he no longer has that expense.
Absolutely.
And that is
That's one
again
thing.
a reflection on the economy.
Absolutely. You very well said. And in fact, many employees are also started talking about, you have a liberty to work from your native place, go wherever, as long as you have a good connectivity, you can work. So that
Yeah.
means your cost of living probably will go down if you happen to live in a metro versus you are living in a tier 2, tier 3 city. It's a lot of, a lot of changes in terms of the career landscape and from a business side and even from personal side, if you see, as you rightly said, Sid. So we are so used to this, and the moment somebody says you need to go to office and work, like, oh my god, do I really have to? And in the last 3 4 years, the kind of learning we had during that pandemic, in terms of the time we got for ourselves, doing a lot of learning for ourselves, many of us would have done a lot of experimentation of figuring it out, the other side of our personality, in terms of what I really like, what I'm really good at, what is that I can also do in parallel, right? Of course, that led to many controversial topic like moonlighting and people doing 2 or 3 assignments. That's a different story. But that's where we are trending, because people also started seeing that it is no more that one job where I can spend 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. This is not one role where I can do for rest of my life. So there's a lot of changes are happening with the changes in the economy, the business models, the new career paths are emerging, new challenges are emerging, the technology and the disruption like AI, ML. Thanks to Ketan, other day he was talking about how we can use AI and ChatGPT for advantage of agile practitioners, right? So it is not just about knowing stuff. Now, how do you integrate different knowledge? How do you integrate your personality plus your domain experience, your earlier hard skills and soft skills together to make a difference? So what we're talking about is the work culture is shifting more towards outcome driven. At the same time, as Ketan sir was talking about, the Sid was talking about, the compensation is getting kind of seen from a different angle. Not just because you have a title, not just because you have a job, you are entitled to get so much of pay, right? So that means there's a lot of things are happening, which is again putting pressure on each one of us, isn't it? So in terms of what is that I should be doing it, what is that, is there a stable job, is there a stable career path where I can get in and forget about next few years? So those gone are those days. So it is like every day we need to be on a toast to figure it out what's coming up next, kind of a thing. So the new normal, new challenges, new career path emerged, but at the same time the challenges has remained the same. You talk to many people, they say, oh my god, going to office is good, but by the time I'm back, like, I'm done and dusted. Or you will also see, the picture in the left, right? So your skill set is something, but you are doing something else, and you are utilizing a tool, as they say, right? The tool in the hand of a fool is still a fool, kind of thing. See, you might end up doing something which may not be in line with your capabilities, competency, or a skill, due to various reasons. It could be market or whatever the reasons could be. So the many of us are still going through this workplace stress. So the reason could be many. And what it has made us, many of us, to think about is, okay, I do have certain skills and experiences, but my interest and competencies may vary a little bit, and but the market demand is for something else, right? And many a times we end up making those career choices, education choices based on what market wants and demands, rather than looking at the holistic stuff. And that's where we get into maybe choosing some of those career path jobs, or career paths where we may be making money. We may find that, okay, I'm doing good, but inside out you're kind of getting burnt out, you're getting stressed, and you don't know what next, kind of a thing, right? So that feeling of that feeling of getting stuck is getting growing and growing and growing. So what I'm talking about so far is, while the market dynamics are changing, the demand for skills and is changing, if I look at I as an individual, I need to be very cognizant about my own skills and competencies and my own interests and competencies. Otherwise, just as we typically talk about rat race, what might happen is I might fulfill the needs of the market and the workplace, but internally I am not happy. Internally, I'm not fulfilling. I'm not being able to find something meaningful to move forward, kind of a thing. So this is where the concept of career agility comes into picture. So essentially, what is career agility is all about career choices or life choices, isn't it? Because if you look at most part of our life, we spend by either working or doing some kind of a meaningful thing, what we call a career, which is not just yet another job for a few years, but career is something where we deeply get involved, use our competencies, use our values and mindset and principles to really grow, contribute to that area. At the same time, we get kind of a satisfaction that yes, I made a difference to myself, I made a difference to probably a set of people or an organization or a society, whatever the path you are taken. But if this is the case, and this is how the market is going on, so right from Harvard research to Forrester and Forbes articles, what they say is gone are those days where people will be able to take up a particular role or a job and continue forever. Very few of them. So what has become a very common factor is what we call the transitions, career transformations, right? And this is exactly from my point of view what I call it as a career agility. So my view, what is career agility is, you start with certain thing, you start figuring it out what you're really good at, what is that you can really make a difference. From there, you start making some logical changes or transitions to something which is very close to what you have been doing, but which is really fulfilling compared to what you have been doing. And from there, you lead to somewhere else and somewhere else, and finally you start feeling that, oh my god, yes, this was a good work in terms of being flexible, being adaptable. That's exactly what agility is all about, isn't it? And the same is applicable for our careers, right? Start with something, explore the other side of your personality, other side of your skills and competencies, grow as you move forward. And this transition has to be done more in an agile way, what we call the incremental way, with enough feedback, enough support system, with data insights. And that is growing up more and more and more as a need. And that's how I define career agility. So now I would like to pause here and maybe open up forum for few reflections. What is your view of what is career agility could be, and why do you think this is so critical in the current context? Any quick reflections there? Any reflections? What do you believe? What could be this career agility is all about? Why it is becoming essential in these days? Hi Srijit, nice to see you. Swati, Joseph, other folks in the call. What is your thoughts? What is your reflection? What is this career agility is all about? What it could be? Any quick thoughts?
Hi, Manju. Srijit here.
Yes, Srijit.
Yeah. So I think I agree with your perspective. I think the point that you're trying to highlight is about the uncertainty and how we can manage that uncertainty. I think that's a very essence of agile. Same applies to career as well. I would also add one more dimension to it. It's more of resilience.
Absolutely.
How do we build the skill sets around this? How do we make ourselves adaptable with the changing landscape, with the changing industry?
Very true.
changing demand for the skill sets in the industry, and equip ourselves to sustain, add value, to contribute to the requirements that come our way. So I think a combination of this uncertainty coupled with resilience is possibly a dimension I would like to see with respect to career agility.
Very well said, Srijit. Very well said. Any other quick reflections, or do you have any story to talk about? What have you seen in terms of for you to grow as an individual in whatever the line you are? How have you handled it, keeping an agility in mind? What Srijit was also talking about, being resilient, understanding the market need, and changing probably the direction from where you started versus where you are today. How the journey has been and why it has been very super critical for you.
One point which I would like to add
Yes, sir.
is when Sirijit spoke about resilience.
Mm-hmm.
The way to bring about resilience is personal growth.
Very well said.
Yeah, it's not just about oh, I know this and that and the other, but at least I'm speaking I speak for myself, but in this time when I was majority work from home, I think I was able to improve myself.
Very well.
For example, I went and I became an agile, certified, qualified agile ICP ACC. Right now, if you ask me in pre-COVID times, I could not have found the time to do that.
Same to it, yeah.
Because I was, majority work from home, I could find the time to actually undertake that, study that, and become a certified agile coach. So it is not simply a question that, oh, I now have a new certificate. No. That's not the point. The point is that my personal growth.
Yeah.
And that is what will result in that resilience that Srijit is talking about.
Absolutely. And that during the course of that learning, you would have figured it out some aspect which you would have never thought about yourself, right? It could be some key competencies or key, that learning would have led to, okay, this is not just in agile. Probably this is something I can also apply in some other aspect of your life. It could be other part of your profession as well. That's very well said. Very well said. Yeah, that's exactly what career agility also talks about, which is start from somewhere, but don't get stuck there. Do smaller experimentation, learn from those mistakes, learn from those, and keep that as an foundations to move forward. So there's a person called Marty Constant. So she has come out with this career agility model. So what essentially this summarizes the same thing what we have been talking about. So probably those who are in the very early phase of your career, early what we call early professionals. So that's where you can do a lot of experimentation in terms of start with something, explore, do some kind of have your own hypothesis based on your strengths and likes and dislikes, and then get started doing what really makes sense. But at the same time, use it as an opportunity to pursue, like as Sid, you're talking about, it gave you an opportunity to learn something new and start applying it. And you realize, oh my God, I think this is something I'm liking it. Plus, I think my skills and competencies and my personality is aligning to this. Why don't I go in that direction? And the moment you start doing it, you start also creating some kind of probably a community or some close knit of people who can really give you those feedback. Yes, this is going well. Use this as an opportunity to what we typically call A/B testing in our lean startup world, which is do some parallel. It could be smaller assignments, could be pro bono. It can be paid, or it can be more of an internship. So that will give you an idea. Yes, this area is something very close to what I've been doing. What do we typically call the related competencies? Say sometimes I have met people who are doing something, but they wish to do something which is diagonally totally opposite, which is 180-degree. That means there's a huge transition. The learning those skills and competencies might take more time, more investment of time and money, and also it's going to be a big resistance personally Whereas if you are finding something very complementary to what you have been already doing, but a little bit of shift in terms of your mindset, in terms of skills, will definitely will help you to explore a very closely related, career path, which will be very easy to move ahead kind of thing. So that's exactly what it's talking about. So, but having said that, these transitions or discovery, it's a difficult journey, isn't it? Because if you ask many of in the call, like say the Srijit, who have been in the industry for more than 20-25 years, the journey was not so easy, right? We had to spend time to reflect, seek feedbacks, have some kind of a mentors and coaches, or somebody as a boss who helped us to shape and where we are today. But if you reflect back, is there a way that I would have done it better? Of course, yes, this would have been done better. Maybe if I had have made a right education choice, if I would have done some early career choices. But that is not an roadblock. Even now, you may be in the middle path of mid career or in the later career. Still, there is a possibility for us to apply many of these concepts and take the journey to the next level. Just some quick reflection on topics like how we typically choose education and career paths in the past. At least now there is a good amount of research analysis goes into what education to choose, what career paths to choose. Other day I was talking to Srijit, and he was sharing how the new generation, young generation kids have a good insight and very crystal clarity in terms of what they want. And that was not the case with many of us when we got started, isn't it? So usually who used to influence us in terms of education or career paths is typically the parents and friends and some influencers and teachers. And it was also a time of when Google and Yahoo search used to be there, and we used to search something like what is the highly paid, which one is of highest demand. Okay, IT, just get into IT kind of a thing, right? So that was the cases where we used to, and many a times I don't want to travel far because of some financial conditions or whatever. We used to pick something which is nearby, pick something which is reasonable kind of an thing. Or many a times it used to be guided or misguided by so-called counselor who also don't have a bigger perspective of landscape of education and career paths. So what will happen? That was okay at that point of time, because the 10, 15, 20 years ago, the career paths were limited. The awareness was also limited. The information was available in silos. Though many of us who we started around 20 years ago got into the corporates, we used to do a lot of this, aptitude test, English assessment test, and many of those. But it used to be done in more in an isolations to understand an individual and understand their EQ, IQ, and then we used to get into the job and grow from there with some kind of an manual help and stuff like that. But that is not the case now. With the advent of technology, with the advantage of with the advent of new business models, and the disruptions what is happening in the industry, the government is spending good amount of time to see how we can, the post-industrial era, the knowledge era, there are huge number of career paths are available. In fact, it's so astonishing to see that even today people think engineer, doctor, CA, and lawyer, and probably a few of them as a few options. But if you go to the career analysis world, there are close to 180 different career paths, which is equated to close to around 3,000 different career options or occupations. And that get translated to around 3 lakh different job descriptions. That's the kind of spectrum what we are talking about, right? And now, because of advent of data and internet and all those stuff, lot of information is available, but that also leads some kind of what we call analysis paralysis, which we don't know which one is. And if you typically talk to many of our those who are in the college or a very early part of the career, they are also in that confusion state. Okay, there are so many options are there, which one should I choose? The same goes with the middle career paths, where middle career professionals, where I'm stuck here, I don't know where do I go. Or many senior professionals, okay, I'm here, I am done, I'm doing best, but is there something which I can do on the other side, which gives more meaningful and fulfilling rather than about title and money kind of a thing, right? So the answer lies somewhere down the line, which is what it is also leading to is, if we don't make right career and education choices, it builds a lot of stress for us. It builds many a times the wastage of our effort, right? We would have wasted many time to figure it out what is really in it for me. So essentially, the understanding of these will is very critical for us. So many of us, many of you, or many of us, or many of your friends or colleagues, I know, being a senior coaches, senior professional in the industry, you might be also doing a lot of this career guidance for your family, your own family members, your team members, and all those stuff. Then how do we usually do it is based on our available information, our own experience and insight. But is there a better way of doing it? Of course, it is available. And usually what we take is an outside in approach. Now, what's happening in the market, what's happening in the job market, what's happening in industry, what's happening in terms of ecosystem. But from my view, it is always good to start with inside out approach, what we typically call start with why. What is that? Who am I? What are my values? What is my fundamental strengths and weaknesses? That will provide more, from my point of view, being coming from a psychological background. What I have firmly believe and have seen, and after talking to many people, have helped many of my team members as a full-time people manager role, as well as now as a coach, is that the outside world is very lucrative to look into in terms of money, in terms of title, pleasure, popularity, and all those stuff. But on a long run, it's not going to help. So on a long run, what do we need is to look into the fitment in terms of my personality, my value, my aptitude, my interest, and a sweet spot, what we have been talking about, the demand in the market, what we typically call the ikigai kind of a concept, right? But is there a possibility that can we balance these things in terms of my interest, my personality, my motivation, my values and abilities? Yes, it is possible. As I said, with the advent of technology, with the advent of psychological the tools which is available for each one of us. So one of the option could be to explore. I'm not saying this is the only silver bullet, this is going to solve all our problems, but this I have seen doing magic, at least in my personal case, and also seen doing it in many of my mentees and many of my close circle where I am being part of their journey, is something called as multidimensional career analysis. So what is this multidimensional career analysis? It is the whole notion there is each one of us are unique, right? Each one is unique, right? We have our own kind of persona, right? So it is very difficult for us to say, okay, based on this is exactly what you should be doing it. So rather, what I meant to say is it's very difficult to say that this job requires this kind of a thing. Rather, we need to look at ourselves holistically, at our own self, in terms of personality, value, motivation, learning style, emotional intelligence, skills and abilities, as an unique profiling. The once it's unique profiling is done, out of all those 180 different career paths, some 3 lakh or 30,000 job descriptions, there could be some of those paths very well suited or in line with my multidimensional persona. And if you are able to navigate in those a narrow spectrum of options, the chances for me is that I will be able to excel, I will be able to enjoy, and probably I will be able to move forward. And this is not something new. Many of you who have been sitting here in the call with senior professionals, you would have figured this out over a period of time. It would have taken 5 years, 10 years for you to know, exactly this is what I wanted to do in my life as a career, as a role, right? Because the initial part may be very kind of an experimentative. What if you would have got this analysis, or the instrument is available early as possible, right from probably being a student to early part of a professional, the kind of probably experimentation we would have done. And I am not saying it's a waste, it's a lesson learned for sure, it's an experiment, it's an experience for sure, but probably the growth in terms of contribution to that area, or contributing to myself, and maybe would have been better, is what I'm trying to say here. So this multidimensional career analysis will definitely help. As I said, this could be one of the light in the tunnel. So to lead you to a certain direction, to make some career choices, some education choices, skill development choices, investment, right? The external world, if you look at, okay, AI, ML is picking up, data analytics is picking up, UI, UX is good, Agile is good. Like, how many places would you like to go and invest and learn? There's no end to it. So, but what if I get some kind of clarity in terms of, okay, these are the 2-3 areas, if based on my persona, if I invest, this is where my chances of growth is high. That's exactly what this is going to talk about in terms of informed career choices and greater satisfaction in terms of education and moving forward. So let me stop here. Again, a quick reflection. Are you all with me? Does it make sense? Have any one of you tried and tested any of these multidimensional career? When I say multidimension, it is not just personality assessment. Many of you would have done this personality assessment in isolation, like it could be MBTI, DISC, Big Five, or many of those are available. So that is done to understand you as an individual. But what I'm talking about is a holistic assessment, which is your personality, your career values, your motivation as an individual, what kind of a career it's aligned with yourself, and your EQ and IQ. Because end of the day, if this EQ IQ is not matching, and if your personality is not matching, just an example, if you are more of an introvert, you are more analytical, you want to do some kind of a research kind of a topic, but assume that you have been put into a sales and marketing team, how will you feel? Because sales and marketing team probably requires you to being more vocal, talking to people, talking to clients, talking to customers, understand their needs, requires more of an extrovert kind of a thing, and being creative, not being analytical skills may be required to a certain level, I'm not saying it. So many a times you might see that your personality, your skill, IQ, EQ is something, but what role you are playing is totally 180-degree tangential. So that is where the conflict will start. That's where the stress will start building. And that's where we will start seeing that I don't like what I am being doing kind of a thing, right? So this analysis will definitely will give you an idea as to, yes. Sorry for that. That, thank you. Sorry for that. So essentially, this multi-dimension is combining multiple aspects of this EQ, IQ analysis with your learnings and your personality together to create a profile, a unique profile, to help you to lead towards a better clarity in terms of your education and career. Education could be skill building. It doesn't mean that a formal education, but it can be an upskilling, or it can be also into career transition. So any experiences here? Has anybody tried such multidimensional career analysis? You want to share some experiences around that? Anyone has tried such thing?
I've not tried, Manju, but I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. I think this is kind of a revelation for me. I was always under the impression of this external forces shaping our choices on what we need to pursue, right? It could be agile today. It could be data science. It could be something else. Okay, and hence we need to equip ourselves. But that can't take us beyond a point. For the simple reason that maybe our our values, our core areas of expertise, even our experience so far may not be well aligned with what is there in that job market. It could be temporarily also. It's not that something will sustain forever. But rather, if you take an approach of finding yourself, your abilities, and your core strengths, and trying to figure out where does that unique combination can fit in, that absolutely is a most sensible thing to do. I was wondering why all of these years I took that other decision. I must admit that most of the time I don't think I've done a very conscious effort to look at internally. But eventually, as you said, no, we figure out on the job, whatever jobs we do, we figure out, okay, I think these are the possible areas we like doing more, we enjoy, and we amplify on that. But beyond that, making a conscious choice on the career decision itself, I think that was most of the time done externally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's never ending, as you rightly said. Something new comes up, we just jump in, nothing wrong in it, but after some time you start questioning, okay, is that the right path? Am I doing the right thing, kind of a thing, right? So that will start bothering us many times.
Your question, Manju. I think I kind of embarked on a similar experience, right? Of doing a DISC assessment to kind of figure out what my personal strengths are, but also working with somebody to kind of help me figure out what are my passions, right? What am I passionate about? I think one thing I discovered in the process that might be helpful is, so I've been a Scrum Master and Agile coach for a number of years now. And I often gravitate towards product, right? One of the things that I pretty much don't like about product is that it is, I mean, product managers or people often seem to be backlogged managers, right? And not product managers. And so for that reason, I've kind of steered away from going into product management. But one of the things that I discovered is that's where my passion is. Like I'm extremely passionate about product. And so I have the opportunity to really go and create impact and change. But had I not gone through that DISC assessment and kind of think through, what are my passions and what excites me in my job, I wouldn't have discovered that, yep, my passion is product. Even if I'm an Agile coach, I still always gravitate towards product. So that combination has really been helpful or useful for me in terms of figuring out what my passion is, the direction that I should be heading in, even if I'm a little resistant to it. but very impactful in having me delineate that career trajectory.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. Yeah, so many of us would have done these assessments, right? DISC profiling or MBTI, as I said. But that gives one side of your story. So what I'm talking about is a holistic looking at all the multi-dimension, right? There is something called as the RIASEC, which is I'm sharing it here in terms of based on each one of us, when we do some kind of a profiling, you will know that whether you are a creator, whether you are an organizer, whether you're a doer or a thinker or a pursuer. And many a times, as this profiling also talks about, you will fall into 2 or 3 major buckets. It's not that only one major category. And because of that, your chances of getting into many career paths will open up. It is not just one where you will be able to rise and be a star. Rather, the multiple ways you can really move in and make an impact for them. So thanks for those insights. So my final message is we all need a coach, because what we typically look at is one side of the story, as Srijit, you were talking about, and Govind, you were saying, and Sid was talking about some time ago. Irrespective of what part of career we are in, early professional or mid or senior, it's never the late, right? And never measure your career success based on somebody else's comparison, because if Mark is able to set up at an age of 19, the same is with Colonial, who was able to start his business at 65, right? There is no right age or a wrong age for any career transition, or it could be a journey towards entrepreneurship, or it could be a journey towards totally a transition from, say, being a corporate to, say, maybe a teaching. If somebody is really passionate about to make a difference, you may want to move towards maybe a teaching full-time. So that's a big career transition. But if you are not able to identify those key elements, whether I'm really able to really make a difference there, so those transitions will become a very tricky. And that is where having a guided conversation with some insights with a coach will really make a difference. So my suggestion is find out somebody, one or two or three coach or a mentor in your life who will be able to really help you in terms of identifying those key strengths and able to navigate. Of course, there are technology platform, as I said. I'm going to talk about it in the next couple of minutes. Those will be helpful as a first level of awareness, first level of insights. But in a long run, having a coach will make a huge difference. And I hope many of you would have seen this video by this is something I really liked. I was watching this video and thought maybe very useful for many of you folks. I'm going to share this link in the chat window. So why, if you want to really make a progress in any chosen path, have a coach is the key message from that video by Ajit. So I'm going to share that, and it's quite an interesting one to explore it. So, and this is a kind of a context setting. And what we have been talking about career agility in terms of knowing ourselves inside out approach. use some kind of a multidimensional career analysis, and then have a coach or a mentor, career mentor, who can take you navigate through those uncertain situations. How can I help, right? This is where probably it may sound a little bit sales pitch, but pardon me for that. My idea is not to sell it, but just to share some perspective here. This is my story. Why I'm talking about passionately about this career agility is, as a child, when somebody used to ask me, right? Typically, people ask, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I used to say that I want to be a cosmologist, at the same time be a monk. I don't know where and how this initial thoughts came into my life, but I always used to say I want to be in physics or a professor or a cosmologist, and then be a monk. And then as time progressed, with the formal education kicked in and all those stuff, and then there was a junction in after my 11th and 12th, I kind of nailed down two paths, two options to choose, which is one being a physics professor or very close to cosmologist, what I wanted to. The second one, there was one doctor, my family doctor, who inspired me so much in terms of taking up homeopathy as an option, because he was an MTech and PhD in electrical engineering, but he later became an homeopath because of whatever his passion calling, inside calling, and he realized that enough of electrical engineering PhD from IIT, and I want to do something for myself and my whatever family and community. So he inspired me a lot, and there was a junction where I was about to get into homeopathy or this physics. I was in that dilemma. And you know what, typically what we have been talking about, my physics professor influenced me and my parents not to take this path, because he said, no, that's going to be a long route. You need to study for MSc physics and then PhD, and by the time you settle in, it's going to take a lot of time, and you're doing foolish, blah blah blah. And he influenced me. Very closest could be electronic engineering. You go ahead, not even medicine, whatever. Typical, we get influenced by outside in, as we are saying, right? And when a physics professor PhD is saying, don't go their route, obviously I and my parents said, okay, let's get into engineering. That's how I started my career. First few years as a typical engineer, developer, tester, and then I realized, oh my God, though I'm a engineer, but I'm not really liking the system engineering concept, right? Then made a career transition as a human engineering, which is more of people management, working with people, working with team, being a team leader, project manager, project lead. Did my MBA, and then later I realized, in the course of time, I was always wanted to do something else. In that led me to play multiple roles, change my companies, change roles, and explored many stuff. And then later I realized that I'm meant more to be more like an psychologist, trainer, or a coach kind of in material, right? So that was a big transition which I took in the last say 20 years of my life. And then later I also realized, when I did this multidimensional career assessment, that I am meant to be a very close career path for me, as recommended by this analysis, was career coaching, career counseling, or career guidance, right? Because invariably that's what I have been doing for last 20 years. Whosoever I meet, my team members, my family members, I used to guide them and tell them, okay, explore this, do this, these are scores, do this kind of a thing. So that became kind of very natural. And then I may realize, oh my God, if I would have done this multidimensional career assessment, probably it took 20 years for me. I would have figured it out that, and I would have progressed much better kind of a thing. So how can I help is, I am partnering with one of the organizations called 9IQ Insight, which has in this AI powered career analysis platform, which looks into all these multiple dimensions, and it gives that professional report. And once this report is done, so you have a choice to have a one-to-one guidance within career certified career coach or an analyst. So I also got detailed into this and got certified, and there's a detailed curriculum to understand this. So you get that report, and like any other psychological assessment, this has been validated by some international forums, and the validation data points are there, and research done by education consultants, psychologists, and industry experts and stuff like that. The platform is super powerful. So how does it work is, we usually start with a conversation, what we call 4R step, which is get to know each other, gather some information, and then sign up for this multidimensional career assessment if you wish to, within career guidance. It is guidance can be a first level of a conversation, not the actual coaching or a mentoring. And then all of you will, I mean, those who are interested will get a link to do this online assessment, and that report will get generated, which is comprehensive 2030 kind of a 2030 page based on your profile, based on your nature and stuff like that. And that report will be used as a conversation in terms of what career path are you in. If you are planning for transition, what that could be, what is the closest career path which you can take, so to help you, kind of a thing. And with that assessment and guidance, you also get some kind of a lifetime access to this platform where you get, and this is more useful as of now for students and those who are in the early part of professionals. But we are trying to see, I'm giving the recommendations to these organizations to build more and more content and platform capabilities for professionals, how this will be useful for them for upskilling and networking and stuff like that. So this is some sample report it looks like. So basically what it does is, based on your profiling, multidimensional profiling, it's gonna tell you this could be different career paths if you wish to do a transition, or you can say that you are already there in one particular career path, and how do you strengthen it, how do you grow further. So there are multiple options are available. Since, as I said, it's an AI powered platform, you can choose to explore. You can say, no, I don't want to explore, rather I want to see what am I good at. Am I in the right path? If I am in the right path, is there something which I can do to improve myself, kind of a thing. So it is basically that flexibility and power of technology to utilize to understand yourself, your insights, work nature, and if you want to say plan for a career transition. So if you are a coach and a trainer and you want to get into, say, HR professional, right? And what is the nature of work looks like, and are you is your proper persona matched to that? And it's going to tell you that yes, based on your interest and skills and abilities, this profile definitely matches, and it's a top recommended. And it's going to recommend in terms of, it's a top choice or a good choice and optional and stuff like that. And it will give you some kind of an insight what education, skills and competencies is required, what is the demand in the market and stuff like that, right? So my request is, as an Agilewaters, we have been doing this lot of career mentoring and counseling, career guidance, career mentoring and coachings for a lot of professionals. So if you are keen, contact one of our Agilewaters team members, or also you can reach out to me and we can have subsequent conversations. So with that, let me stop and open up forum for further conversations and right. So how we can, what did you learn? Was this conversation helped you to trigger some conversations, trigger some thoughts in you? What is that? Any reflections, or how do we take this journey forward?
Good presentation, Manju. I think I really liked the way in which you connected the dots and helped to reveal some things that was not so obvious in front of us. So just a question on the last tool that you showed, also seeing in the report, I think it is suitable for people who are either very early in their career or students. So did you mention that, that there is an adaptation of that for working professionals?
Senior professionals as well, yes. So there is an option available for senior experienced professionals. So while doing that assessment, we can choose that path.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts?